So, you want to learn how to pilot the TARDIS? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you how to do just that. When you first craft a TARDIS, it's probably going to look like this inside. This is how the TARDIS looks when you first terraform it. So, kind of the factory default, I suppose you could say. This is the default console when you first craft it, of course, and the most basic and easy to understand. This is probably the console that you should train with if you want to learn how to fly the TARDIS. And then, once you unlock other interiors and other consoles, then you can learn the controls on those, but first you need to know the basics. First, we're going to start with the fuel, which on this console is over here. As you can see, the fuel of the TARDIS is currently 0. Now, if you've opened the Eye of Harmony, and if you don't know what that is, then you should probably check the previous video. But if you've opened the Eye of Harmony, all you have to do is right-click the fuel button, and now I've enabled refueling, and you can see that the fuel is literally just going up. That's all you have to do to fuel your TARDIS. You can only fuel the TARDIS when it's landed, but all you have to do is wait a bit, and boom, you got fuel. Next, we're going to go over the navigational controls, which is kind of how you set the destination that the TARDIS is going to. Now, these are pretty crucial for flying the TARDIS, because if you can't choose where you're going, well, I mean, you're not really flying it anywhere now, are you? On this console, we have the X, Y, and Z buttons, and by right-clicking, for example, the X, you can see that it increases my X coordinate. I'm currently in negative coordinates, so it looks like it's going down, but it's actually increasing by 1. If I punch the X button, you can see that now it's going down on the X coordinates. So right-click to increase, and then left-click to decrease. Down here is the increment button. By right-clicking this, you can change the increment at which these three controls function. So, for example, now when I right-click X, it goes up by 100. So 140, 240, and so on. You can get other upgrades so that it can do 1,000, 2,500, and 5,000, which is very helpful if you're setting coordinates that are much farther away. Then right over here we have the direction. And this is, pretty self-explanatory. Right-clicking it, you can change which direction your TARDIS's door faces when it lands. So I can do west, north, east, south. The direction can really be helpful if your TARDIS lands like in an awkward spot, and it would be better if the door was facing the opposite direction, or if you just want to fine-tune where it's landing so that it looks nicer. Next over here, we have the dimension selector. Now, when I right-click this, it's going to say that I have insufficient power. That's because we'll come back to this control later once I've shown you how you can upgrade your TARDIS, because being able to select your dimension is actually one of the upgrades in the upgrade system. Now over here we have the randomizer. It literally does just that. It sets random coordinates when you right-click it. This works with the increment button, so if you have it set to a higher increment, for example 100 blocks, it'll set random coordinates within a 100 block radius. If you set it to 1,000 blocks, 1,000 block radius, you get the gist. This one right here is called the GPS. By right-clicking it, it shows you the destination at which the TARDIS is currently traveling to, and left-clicking it shows you where your TARDIS is currently landed, which can be helpful so that you make sure that you've set the right coordinates, or you actually know where you're going. Now, before I show you how to take off, we should probably introduce the most important control of them all, the computer bank, which is on this part of the console right here. Now, of course, the controls will be in different spots on different consoles, but they'll all do the same functions as they do on this console. By right-clicking the computer bank, it pops up this little GUI. You'll notice that 3 of these options are currently grayed out. These are also upgrades that we'll come back to later, and that's probably a good thing to cover, because without the computer bank, flying the TARDIS is actually a lot more difficult. So, now that we've covered some of the basics, I'm going to teach you how to actually put this thing into flight. So, once you've got your coordinates set, I'm just going to set random coordinates with the randomizer. All you have to do is right-click the throttle. That actually takes off the TARDIS and puts it into flight. You'll see that now the time rotor's going up and down, and it's making that cool sound. When your TARDIS is in flight, how you fly it is controls do what's called misaligning. This basically means that over time, as you can see if I hover over this switch, it has a little green icon next to it. But somewhere in the TARDIS there will be switches like this, which have a yellow icon that gets orange and then gets red. If you leave these long enough, eventually they'll start to spew sparks all over the air. If you let them go too long, and you leave too many of these to start sparking, the TARDIS will crash and actually become unusable for about 10 minutes. You also can't be inside of it because it'll kill you. Now, how you actually fix these controls when they become misaligned is just by right-clicking them until they go back to being green. Make sure if it's a control like the X, Y, or Z, you don't right-click it while it's green, because that'll mean that you actually change the coordinates. Only right-click it until it's green. So here's the randomizer, and now you'll see that nothing's sparking. Until the TARDIS arrives at its destination, currently it's 20% of the way there, you will have to fix any controls that go misaligned just by walking around the console. See, here's a yellow one. You can click them before they actually start sparking, which is good because it makes it kind of easier to fly, in a sense. But if you're really struggling at finding the controls, or you keep crashing, something that can really help you is there's what's known as the AR glasses, which can be crafted using 4 sticks, a Ziton ingot, and 2 glass panes. All you have to do is put the 2 glass panes in the bottom corners, 1 Ziton ingot in between them, and then put 2 sticks on top of each glass pane, and now you have the AR glasses. You can put these in your helmet slots, so on your head. See, now I look pretty dashing. And you'll notice that now this control's misaligned, but it has these particles going on top of it as well. This works not even for ones that are sparking. If you're wearing the goggles, it literally just shows you any control that's about to misalign or is currently misaligned, no matter what stage in the alignment it is. So you'll see it becomes a lot easier to find which controls are broken, and piloting actually is like a lot simpler than before. And on top of that, I should also cover more in depth on how the throttle works. When you first pull the throttle, it'll be at 20%. If I right click it again, it'll go up to 40, and again, 60, 80, and then 100. What this means is that's actually the speed at which the TARDIS is flying at. So if I'm going at 20% throttle, that's the slowest speed that the TARDIS can travel. Then if I do 40, that's slightly faster, 60 is more, 80, and then 100 is the maximum speed that the TARDIS can go. To increase the throttle, as I said previously, all you have to do is right click, and then to decrease it, just left click or punch the control. The reason you'd want to go at a slower speed is actually because these flight events will tend to happen less often if you're going at, say, 20% throttle versus 100%, as well as the fuel will actually decrease slower. You'll notice that when we go to 0% throttle, we haven't landed. That's because if we go to the computer bank over here, you'll see now we're 32% of our way through our journey. To land the TARDIS, you do normally have to wait until it's reached 100% of the journey. Then by putting the throttle back to 0%, the TARDIS will automatically land. But if your destination is really far away and you don't think you'll make it there in time before you run out of fuel, or you just want to land the TARDIS, you can come over here to the handbrake. For example, if you have way too many misaligned controls and you're afraid you'll crash, all you have to do is left-click the handbrake when the throttle is in the 0 position, and the TARDIS will come to a stop. Make sure that when you pull the handbrake, though, the throttle is at 0%, because if it's anywhere higher, you will crash the TARDIS just by pulling that brake while it's moving. Like, think about if you're driving a car going 60 miles per hour and then you full-on put on the brakes. When the TARDIS is not in flight, you can right-click the handbrake to toggle it. Now that we've covered some of the flight controls, let's go over some of the other ones on the console. First, we have the door toggle. By right-clicking it, I can open and close the door. Pretty simple. By left-clicking, I can lock and unlock the door. which can be very helpful if you don't want other players getting in your TARDIS. Then over here we have the fast return. By right-clicking this, it actually presets your TARDIS to go to the last destination that it landed, which is helpful if you're quickly wanting to go between places, or you don't want to put in all of the coordinates again of where you just were. Now remember how I said we would come back to the computer bank and the dimension button later? Well, now's that time. I'm going to teach you the TARDIS's leveling system, which is a really cool mechanic. If you're in this interior or any other, you have to look for this big door back here and go inside. Just stand still for a couple of seconds and the airlock, which is what this is, will engage and it'll bring you to the rest of the TARDIS's interior. You're going to want to go to your first door on the left, and in here we actually have this cute little mini tree. This is how you upgrade the TARDIS. By right-clicking this on the tree, this little egg pod, you can open this GUI, which is the TARDIS's leveling system. You'll notice that there's all of these locked icons, and by flying your TARDIS, you normally just get XP, which can, once you get 100 XP points, you get a single regular point, which you can spend on any upgrade. Like, for example, over here, you have the architecture upgrade. If I buy that, now I can change the TARDIS's interior, or if I go over here, I can upgrade the navigation system. If I get more, I can get like a 1000 increment. Or over here, I can upgrade the flight system so that the TARDIS flies faster. You get the point. You can upgrade things like its exterior, you can change the interior, you can of course upgrade how fast it goes, and once your TARDIS is fully upgraded, you'll notice that it runs a lot better. Now we can go ahead and head back to the console room. From this upgrades tree, all you have to do is head to the right, first door on your right. You'll know it's the correct one because there will be another door directly after it. Now that we're back here, you'll notice if I right-click the computer bank, all of these options are no longer grayed out. The first one we have is shell configuration. This one is how you change the TARDIS's exterior. So I can click on Big Ben, there's a clock exterior, a castle one, this is more of a naturey one. If I scroll all the way down, there's the iconic police box, and all I have to do is click this save icon right in the bottom right, and now if I go outside of the TARDIS is a police box, just like in the show. The next thing that we have is the desktop. This is how you change the TARDIS's interior. By changing the desktop, it'll erase everything in the console room and place a new one in there. So if I click the copper one, it'll be the 11th Doctor's TARDIS interior, or for example the coral one. I'll go with the factory one because that one has the same console as this interior. So now I go outside, I wait maybe a couple seconds. If your TARDIS is more upgraded, you won't have to wait as long when changing interiors. And I can open the door, head back inside, and look at that! The entire interior has completely changed. How cool is that? So, the next thing that we have in the computer bank is the waypoint system. This is really helpful. By clicking this, you'll notice we don't have any waypoints yet. That's because we need to make some. You can make a waypoint of where your TARDIS is currently landed by clicking this button right up here, the new waypoint button in the top right. Now all I have to do is name the waypoint, for example, home, if I'm at my house, and click submit. And now if I click the home waypoint here and this green check mark to send it to console, it'll automatically put in that destination no matter where the TARDIS is. So all I have to do is pull the throttle, and the TARDIS is going to that destination without me having to manually set the coordinates, which is a huge time saver, especially if the coordinates are more intricate or farther away. The next thing that we have in the computer bank is the Vortex. This allows you to change the TARDIS's vortex that it flies through. And you can especially see this here. I'll select Desert Mirage. If I put the TARDIS into flight with the throttle, you'll notice that when I open the door, you can actually see the vortex outside, which looks really awesome. Or if I go back to the computer bank and I click on the icon of the TARDIS flying in the vortex, which is its exterior, or like right now the police box, if I left click it, you'll see the TARDIS dematerialize in real time, and now you can actually see it flying through the vortex, which looks really cool. If you're traveling faster, it'll be moving faster through the vortex, which is a really nice and detailed touch. you can exit out of this screen by pressing Tab, and it'll put you back into the console room. The last thing that we have here is the soundscape. This allows you to change the ambient sounds that you're hearing in the interior. So if I click Classic, you probably can't hear it, but now it's making the sounds of the TARDIS when it was back in the 60s, which is a really neat touch. And of course, now that the TARDIS is fully upgraded, we can use the dimension control. Now, before you go, I'm going to show you how you can craft your TARDIS's key, which is a really important thing to do. All you need is one iron ingot and a tripwire hook. If I go over to my crafting table, just put them in at the same time, and now I have a TARDIS key. To bind the TARDIS key to your TARDIS, you have to be inside and right-click the computer bank. Now, the key will be set to this TARDIS interior. Now, with your TARDIS's key, you can use this to actually summon the TARDIS in the overworld if you have the landing pad upgrade. And I'll show you how you can craft the landing pad in the next short video in this series. Anyways, I'll let you have fun flying your new TARDIS around. See you around!